Okay, we have had some amazing presentations today. This is just really remarkable. And I am just so happy that this is happening, and I am sure that all of this thinking will probably go a little bit better for you all if you have a full stomach. So we will be transitioning into lunch. Chef Anthony Warrior will come up and say a few words, but as we transition into lunch, remember, elders first. So if you would like to mingle a little bit before getting in line, that's fine. You're not going to be getting the food first anyways. So take this opportunity to talk with all of our wonderful panelists and attendees. Yeah. All right. That's all I got.
Hi. Ewe de Wangi there, all my relations. Thank you again. This was a fantastic panel. I'm just so impressed with everybody that presented today, and the questions that came in were right on point, as they say. I just wanted to share too that, with some of the questions, it really made me think about a lot of how our tribe, the Omaha tribe, had been established. And in our tribe, we have the sky people and the earth people. And even though in our tribal circle, we say that there are all the clans that are in there, but really what's behind that circle is a balance between, as I would say, the masculine energies and the feminine energies. Sky being a male or a masculine energy, and earth being a feminine energy. Now, when we talk about that, that meant that it was like a mirror image. If you ever seen our tribal circle, it looks very simple. The circle, and then there's a center line that runs through it, often referred to as path of the sun. But what that meant was that there was a balance between these two energies. And also, what it meant is that one was not better than the other. What one had, so did the other. There was a very good reflection of that. And actually, that circle wasn't flat, because oftentimes that's what we're seeing is, the design of it, and it's hanging everywhere in our tribal headquarters and in the Umonhon Nation Public School, in our tribal health center. It's not a flat symbol, it's spherical. And there's a lot of teachings that go behind that. That was something I undertook for myself in order to understand. And I just wanted to share one really quick little story about, understanding how education works. I became an educator, and I was back then highly idealistic about what kind of teacher I was going to be, right? I was fired up. I'm going to go into teach language. I'm going to go and teach in the public schools and bring, native methodologies in there, and I'm going to teach all this stuff. Oh man, that went completely, south. That did not work out the way I had thought. Instead, what I did was I went to work for the Department of Education, the Nebraska Department of Education. And I will say one thing that they did was they invested quite heavily in my training. They sent me all over the country, sent me to all the conferences, sent me to visit native schools, on and on, language conferences, you name it. But they weren't ready for someone like me. They did not know how to deal with someone like me. And in fact, then by the time I left, I don't know who spit who out, but anyway, it was like I was no longer their Indian. In fact, I was never their Indian. And I realized that, and I had to go through my own decolonization process right after that. And I realized, wow, I had this whole viewpoint of what I was going to do, and none of it turned out that way. So instead, I, embraced, what does this mean to be a Native educator? How am I going to do that? And it led me onto a path of how I was going to become a better educator. So which led me to here now. But one of the things that I was doing at that time when I was working for the Department of Ed, they asked if I would coordinate summer institutes for all the reservation schools, all the public schools that are on the reservations, right, in northeast Nebraska. So that's what I was doing. I was given this task, and I was asked, bring in the tribal historians or the tribal council people, the current, and we say Nudohongas, the leaders. And so I was going to each tribe and asking them, would you, come and present at this summer institute to educate these non-native educators, right? So I was going to the Omaha tribe, and at that time, the tribal council, none of them were able, they, didn't have the time to come and present. So therefore I went to our Omaha tribal historian, at the time was Dennis Hastings, Ithinge, he's in the spirit world now. So I'm there and I'm like going, okay, how do I approach, Dennis Hastings? And so I went, I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna do my best. I had gifts, had tobacco, everything. Went to his house, knocked on his door. And I, even before I was really like getting ready to say my speech, hello, Dennis, can you come and, offer some teachings for our education, teacher summit? And as I was saying those words, before I even got to finish, this is what he said to me. He said, the Omaha women are the real historians. And then he slammed the door in my face. And I was just standing there like, oh. Well, okay. When he said that, I said, well, okay then, I'm going to do it. Because if this is something that was once a part of who we were as a people and who we are today, then I will take that role. And now that I'm in this place of having walked through everything over the last 23 years since I became an educator, this experience has allowed me to travel, and recently traveling to Europe as well, to educate and to present to those who want to know about who we are as true, Native people of Turtle Island. In those decolonial methods, then, we can talk about everything that's been spoken of this morning. But in addition to that, teaching about who we are as women and our roles and, how we can help our people to heal. Because again, in that balance, we need to have both of those energies working together so that we can heal our people. And I would say rescind, whatever you want to call it, show that European patriarchal system out the door, It's time. Enough violence, We need to heal and be strong, balanced people. So that's what I can say. And thank you so much again. I want to please welcome Chef Anthony Warrior. Please come forward. Give him a warm welcome.
All my greetings to each and every one of you. As you can hear me probably in the back now. So I want to say, Nitesito, Meti Mepto, Shawanoki, Lanawaki, Oklahoma, Absentee, Shawnee, Mvskoke, Nikia, Nota, Sicangu, Lakota, Rosebud. My mother and father I'm a Haskell rascal, if you guys know what that is. So, in the time of a movement at that time in the 70s, those were some living times, and today we're in a cycle. We're moving our way back. Today's meal, I've been honored, and I want to thank so much to the Maya Comunidad and also to the Indigenous Peoples Summit board for allowing me to come back and prepare meals for you this time. Since this time last year, we've brought our women to the table. We asked last year of the panel last year, we want women this year to be able to bring their story, and it was heard. And I'm so proud of my heart because many of our tribal people of my journeys across the United States don't acknowledge that anymore. They have a hard time understanding those roles. And even with our women not understanding those roles either. And now we're making these moves back towards our people and our ways of life and that balance that's required of this world. And in our context, we always say the Mother Earth, the Grandmother Earth, the Grandmother Moon, and there's a reason for that. It's because those are the entities of life that keep us going, that keeps us in our cycles of life. And today, since last year, my challenge last year before I left this platform was to challenge each and everyone to start eating sustainably, start sourcing sustainable. And in that time, we've got a James Beard Award. We've got nominations for James Beard Awards. 28 years of doing this, we're now in the limelight. Our chefs are coming. Our food is evolving. It's always evolved. And I will tell you, being a chef in these past month and a half, me and my beautiful bride over there, we've served over 1,000 meals or 3,000 meals in a month and a half. This has been delivering this platform, and I tell everybody, I'm long-winded. I talk, but I'm going to grab a platform anywhere I can. And that's something that I'm very honored to be able to do. I'm a big food quality person also, so I'm not going to make you wait for this, all right? So we're going to enjoy our meal here in a minute. But I do want you to know, these words that were spoken up here earlier, I listened in as I was preparing. And from when that first little heartbeat hits inside that mother's womb, we are responsible for feeding and nourishing that child from that point on. What we put in our bodies develops that child to how we have today. Because of that improper nutrition, because of the struggles to get proper food in our communities across this Turtle Island, we have problems. Our children are having problems. As they become older and they're not nourishing their brains, they're not nourishing their body, we have problems. And we're wrecked with depression, we're wrecked with suicide, we're wrecked with alcoholism. And one of the things I talk about when we talk about these foods that we're consuming on a daily basis, we are a brainwashed nation. We sit down and we're constantly battered. We're battered. We see it all the time. We see it around us, driving down the highway. Next stop, big arches. I don't know if you guys know what that is. But these things are constantly around us, and they affect our children. And from in that womb, from that mother, to that child coming out and taking its first bite, taking its first milk, if we're not feeding those children properly, those children come out addicted. That's addiction to sugar, to salt, preservatives. And when they continue to eat it as a mother, as a father, waking up in the morning and giving your child sugary cereal, you just made that child want more. That child will crave sugar for the rest of its day. And as a child, sitting there at Halloween time and parade times, shoveling that candy bar in your mouth, you get excited. You want more. It's like, oh my gosh, you can sit there and wrappers are laying all beside you, blowing in the wind. They're in my yard. Anyway, but that child wants that. Those endorphins are released. That body is saying, feed me. I want more. And after that rushes down, I'm hungry again. When in reality, last year, as I talked about how we need to learn behaviors, Native Americans were the first intermittent fasting people. We ate 3 times a week. Sometimes less, depending on what we had to offer for our village. In a group this large, how much food will we have to put on the table to grow? And how would you eat if you knew you had to grow that? We would be mindful of what we're putting in our body. And as Native populations, as indigenous populations, we understand that it's not us that eat first, it's our community that eats first. And when we work for our communities, when we work for our people, that's a giving, that's a self-worth, that's depression out the window because people rely upon you. That's what we know. But we also know how to wreck people. That's take away their food and give them food their bodies don't know. We see it. I'm a victim. And whoever puts that money to put their food on that food guide pyramid when I was a kid destroyed my life. Because that's the way I was taught to eat by the school systems. by the institutions. 3 meals a day you got to eat. But what we're doing is we're eating 3 meals a day with no nutrition. So you stay hungry all day. But when you actually eat grown food, food that you know where it came from, food that you processed, that little bit can last you all day because the nutrition is so big, so valuable in those native seeds and those preservationists. I saw a picture this morning. One of our chefs that's coming up to provide you dinner tonight, she stopped off at Deb Echo Hawks and got corn, and I was like, lucky. We're sitting here up in Nebraska where it's grown, but you have to get it from Oklahoma. Kind of a crazy thing, isn't it? But anyway, this year, I provided a meal for you. My cuisine at this point, and I'm going to tell you why, it's native influenced. Native influenced. The reason why it's native influenced is because 3,000 meals in a month and a half, I don't have producers that can give me that much food. I have to source where I can. I have to find what I can. And if you look on my table over here, all of these corn that I have, the beans that I have, on the end, the growers that are making these, that are pushing these into production, that's just a little bit. To be able to get a bag big enough to feed all of you, I would go broke. But I'm lucky because a lot of these native growers are starting to use the trade system again, their commerce. They're starting to allow you to come do the work, and they will trade you for an hour's work with food. And I'm proud of that. I'm going back to Wisconsin in a couple weeks. I've been asked to come back up when harvest time comes to get Oneida corn. That Oneida corn right there is from the Dr. Becky and Stephen Webster's farm. I was up there this last year cooking with Arlie Dockstader and enjoying myself on their farm. It's a beautiful experience, but they take no money. You have to trade. And I feel good about that. You know what I took? I took myself. I did not know that concept existed when I got up there. So I'm like, well, you're looking at what we can trade. So immediately I started, no, I'm kidding, I didn't. But this food that I have for you today, I want you to understand that as we move forward, we have to build new behaviors. We have to make sure that our children see us eating this food. We have to make sure that our grandmothers let those grandchildren see them eating it and share those stories. Me and my wife were rolling out these corn dumplings this morning. And it takes, we put about 300 corn dumplings out this morning. And I said years ago, my grandmother would have 12 ladies here doing this. And it's me and her. And I said, but they didn't have mixers. They didn't have all these fancy equipment. They just did it by hand. They pounded it. They did all the good stuff. So the labor of love that went into it, it was shared. Those stories that were shared. So these little corn cakes that I have here, these are finger breads. And in cultures, when you make finger breads, you always put your fingerprints in it because that way God sees that you're feeding your people. And when these people, I wash my hands, by the way. Mete la muertes on me. I was in there sanitizing. But these are the things, you know, that are spiritually connected to our foods. We spiritually connect ourselves to our foods. And I say this again, when us as people come into this world, when we're brought out of that womb and we're shown to the people and we're given our name, when we're called our name, they give a feast for us. They feed our people. Your family feeds those people and say, welcome my child. That's food. When it's time for that child to have that one trip around the sun, those moons go by, they're fed. They're given a feast for that. And when these children grow up and they do amazing things, they become rites of passage, they're given a feast to show how proud they are. They share that community value of that food. And then when you get married, when something happens like that, you're given a feast. You get food in your body. And then when you leave this world, you're given a feast. Today, as I go back to my tribal homes, my tribal customs, my feast, my dinner tables at these ceremonial grounds that are Mvskoke people, Shawnee people. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there was corn. There was things they grew in their garden. There was all this beautiful food, this stuff you sit down, these sour cornbreads, these sofkies. And when you go back today, what's in the middle of that table? Kentucky Fried Chicken, Walmart chicken, hot dogs, sauerkraut. How many Mvskoke's in here? That's a joke, if you didn't know. The traditional food on a feast table is sauerkraut and hot dogs. Anyway, res dogs. Anybody watch res dogs? Anyway, but these tables, these ceremonial tables have been replaced with processed foods. They've been replaced with food that's cooked somewhere else. Someone's other labor, not ours. And we got to stop that. We got to come back. I do funerals up here. I give food to funeral people. And they bring out these big buckets of fried chicken. They bring out these potato salads. They bring out these pasta salads. And I'm going to tell you right now, the way I've eaten and the way I respect my whole life, she cut me off. She said, it's out of here. So I got to respect that. But when I'll be damned if my time to leave this world to go see my relatives and I'm carrying buckets of chicken over there. Don't do that to me. If anybody sees me fall dead here, there better not be chicken or sauerkraut and hot dogs on my feast table. All right? That's all I'm saying. Because when I get over there and they look at me and they're like, you know, people like kids when they say, what is that? That's what they're going to look at me like. So, all right, so I'm going to cut it off. Man, we got some rumbly bellies over here. So appreciate the honor. I thank you for the honor. I'm going to be cooking tomorrow's meal also. Struggles with sourcing this food. My challenge today is anybody out here in the listening, out there in the cloud in the world, I challenge our growers to produce these seeds again, produce this food again. We need it back in our systems. We need our children to taste this food again. We need our elders to be able to be sent off with this food again. That's the importance of our food and the spiritual connection for food today. I'm not spiritually connected to Colonel Sanders. But today, your menu is also printed on the front of the table. I don't want it to get much more colder, but if you do have questions, I'm around, all right? My little QR code's back there by the drinks. If you want to find me, I do this anywhere. I give platforms. I don't even have to cook for you. I will come speak. This is the tip of the iceberg to what I talk about. Today, I have the blue cornbreads, all right? The blue cornbreads, what you do is you take your blue cornbread. This is Beulah the bison. This comes from Riverview Farms bison. I got it 2 weeks ago. It's been brining since. It's been brining. Beautiful brine. So it's been roasted down, and it's been roasted in its own juices. So it is the leg. So in case of this, anything from the shoulder up, don't touch it. But you got leg today, so you can eat whatever you want. So leg of bison. So you take your blue corn cake, you just put that big old hunk of bison on there, all right? And then you have a cranberry pudding that you put on top of the bison just to kind of give it that sweet flavor, you know, that full flavor. And then your next dish, we have the Four Sisters salad. Four Sisters, you guys know the three. What's the fourth one? Oh my gosh. If you're up north. The wild rice, all right? Yeah, okay. So this is the northern Four Sisters, right? They say lots of a lot of eh. But anyway, you got your Canadian wild rice, you got your purple hominy, you have a bean medley. These are all your tepary beans, these are all your kidney beans, these are all your Mayakoba beans, everything's in there. All right, so you got all those beans there, and it's in a hibiscus cinnamon vinaigrette. All right, and you got grilled squash, spring squash. So, and then your last dish is your black walnut and corn dumplings. What is it called? Skipakia is what we call it. It's a bread, but it's in cranberry pudding. So that is your meal for today. On the back table, one of my Mvskoke grandmother's favorite drink is the toasted corn and cinnamon tea with honey, and that's the darker color. And then you have the Haudenosaunee of my Six Nation families that I've developed over the years. That's their strawberry drink with maple syrup. So that's what you're going to have today. Oh. I thought you were cold. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to say, Menuela Temoko. Everybody enjoy your food. That's a command. That's not a say, you know, that's telling you, enjoy your food. So, of course, I always respect our elderly and our head ladies here. Enjoy yourself. And thank you for coming to the table and bringing those issues back to the table. We definitely need it. So, enjoy. Is that my phone? Oh, it's good to see you. Thank you.
Wala Taya. Eat, everyone.